You are the only one, an island sun who thinks no one can see. But it doesn't take a genius to see that all your mixing skills, just like oil and water.
Hi, my name's Nigel, and welcome to my podcast, Songs Nobody Asked Me For. And I think this one was prompted by the fact that due to one of my close relatives being quite unwell over the last few weeks, I've had to be a bit of a recluse. I've got loads of these done, but I've been staying at home a little bit and had to cancel a couple of gigs, and we're going to do some recording. I hate doing that, but it's important sometimes. Other things in life are more important sometimes, obviously. And the first gig we have coming up is I think it's August the 8th, and it's a Battle of the Bands. Battle of the Bands, and I love the name of these things, and they're fantastic and funny. And but I thought I might talk a little bit about Battle of the Bands competitions, and what they mean and where they stand. And I've been in a couple. In fact, I've been in three. This will be my third. One in London. Then we did one in Plymouth earlier in the year. Well, in fact, in Torquay earlier in the year. And then this one is in Plymouth. And then when I was doing my singer-songwriting stuff that I talked about a little while ago, I entered a songwriting competition. So they're funny things, Battle of the Bands. So you never really know what the parameters of them are. They usually have a cash prize. I think the one we're doing in August has maybe a £500 cash prize for the winning band. And you get to play live on the opening of the Christmas lights on Plymouth Barbican. And that's fine, it's fun. It's kind of a funny thing, I don't think we'll win it, but it's a funny thing to do. It's a good, it's a good experience. And what you get to do is you get to see these other bands, And when I saw the lineup, because they've been selecting bands for this, so it's all been quite serious. It's via an organisation. I think they're called Cora maybe, Kora. And really nice woman that runs it. I've met her before. We've done gigs with her and for her before. So they've really taken it very seriously, and they've had lots of bands enter. And I've looked at the quality of the local bands that are through to the four finals or four semi-finals, I guess. That's good quality, And we are coincidentally playing with a band called Horse Divorce. I mentioned them just the other day. And Sean is coming, one of the guys who plays in that is coming to talk with me on this, hopefully the next one or two podcasts. And the other band, I can't remember their name, but they're more of a rock band. And we'll come on to that in a while. But what you're always trying to work out with these things is, what are they looking for? And how is it being judged? And do you actually stand any chance whatsoever? My first experience of this was in London, and I was taking everything so seriously then. It was towards the latter part of our third band iteration, the Brilliant Butt. And I think I said in the meeting with Pav that we'd had a woman, a good friend of ours called Nicola, come play keyboards with us for a while. Only time I've had a keyboard player playing with us. It was great. It was nice. It was fun. I like, when you've got something different, you're experimenting and seeing what comes out of it, But we entered this competition. I took it super seriously because I was always looking for these things that would lead us to an avenue of moving forward, really. And maybe I thought at the time, well, this would, if we could, get through to the next round or something like this, And then I remember it was judged by four judges, and they looked like Spinal Tap, really. They all had their jeans and their long hair and their leather jackets. And the minute I saw them, I remember at the time, because I was taking it so seriously, my heart sunk because I thought, we don't stand a chance. This is not us at all. So I was really stressed. And then we had a lot of technical issues on stage at the time, I remember. And it's the only time I really remember being a bit super prima donna, really. I get stressed sometimes, but I'm kind of generally pretty nice, or I internalize it, or I just try and not show it. And but I remember we played the first track, and Nicola's keyboard wasn't working properly, and getting really grumpy with her because when I went over to try and work it out, she hadn't switched it on. And I was saying, "Oh, we've done our first try. We haven't even switched the keyboard on," type of thing, darling, like this, and sort of like stropping off and stropping on. And I don't think we played very well. We didn't have any people there to see us particularly, and yeah, we didn't get through. And that was my experience of the battles of the bands. It's like a sort of superhero film, isn't it? Battle of the Bands. It's kind of very Titanesque, and it would be fantastic if you could get like really, really famous bands to do it, and to have everybody vote. It'd be interesting to see what happened. Um, so never done one of these again until beginning of the year. I think it was it, or was it? No, maybe it was in November. In November or it was January, and we entered this one in Torbay, and nice guy ran it, but that was really bizarre for other reasons. And we played in this big bar. It was really nice. I liked the bar actually. I can't remember the name of it now. If I remember, I'll put it in the link below because yeah, I really liked it. I'd like to recommend it. It was lovely. And we were playing on Valentine's Day, so there we are. That gives you a clue of when it was. It was later, and that's February. Um, and there was a proviso before we did it, and we were told that we weren't allowed to use any amps. Now, for any of you that are musicians listening to this, just being told you're not allowed to use the stuff that you create your sound with is kind of a bit bizarre. They had a PA there, not a very good PA, to be honest, that we had to work out how to use, and we weren't allowed to have any speakers. And because I was still playing my plug-in guitar then, it kind of plug-in acoustic, I kind of thought that's okay. Brad was apoplectic because his electric guitar, he makes his own sound, he does his stuff. He's like, I'm not doing it, I'm not going to do a gig where I can't use my amp. But he kind of agreed to do it in the end, and it was odd. The guy was there to help us, but we kind of managed. And it was because of licensing laws and something to do with the amount of sound this place was able to make. Although I have to say that the speakers they had were louder than probably anything we would have played. We're not the loudest band in the world, but they had these speakers pumping out this stuff, and it was almost like distorting slightly. It was very loud. And the only thing we managed to get away with is I insisted that I had to use my amp as a monitor on the stage. And thank goodness I did, because it was a long, thin stage. And Gray, our drummer, was at one end and John, our bassist, was at the other. And John said he couldn't hear the drums. So the only way he could keep in time, he felt, was to look sideways at Gray's foot. So he could actually keep the time from looking at his foot. So he had to do that the whole time. I love these things. And then Brad just looked grumpy the whole time. But everybody the only thing they could hear on stage was my amp. So they were all able to follow my guitar, because that kind of, it threads through a lot of the experience. But it was odd. But the one thing you think is, well, all the bands are the same, And our friends Horse Divorce, they were in the heat before, and Sean had messaged me going, "Oh man, it's a nightmare. The sound's terrible. You can't adjust anything, can't change anything." So we were expecting that, and probably it was better than we thought it was going to be. But the odd thing was they had some judges. We weren't allowed to see them or see where they were. I don't know whether they thought we were going to go and intimidate them or something, but we didn't. We didn't. But they were upstairs in a bar. There was a bar upstairs, and you had the people that had come. And the winners were voted for. The judges had a certain percentage to say, but it was by the people who were there. Now, the third band that were on were a talkie band, and they were a covers band. And this is a little bugbear of mine, because again, this is about what is the purpose of the competition? Is the competition around originality or musicality or creativity? Or is it around a band performing at a polished finish and my ability to grin and run around the stage and or my vocal prowess or how great Brad is on the guitar? I don't really know. But of course the covers band won. And it wasn't a surprise to us. We came second out of 4 bands, so I didn't mind that too much, because that would have been, we're a fair way from Torquay. We didn't bring anybody. So that meant that any votes that we had came from the audience, and I think that we had one of the judges. 3 of the judges went for this band, 1 of them went for us. So, but I don't know. And you finish and you think, well, what was the point of doing that, really? And partly I did it because the guy who ran it ran other things. You know, he runs some festivals, he said, and various different bits and pieces. So you kind of want to be doing something that keeps you in with people a little bit, keeps you sort of in a place, and then you make connections, you know. So we were very lovely about it and warm, and we did our best, and we played. But when I reflect on it, you know, what is the purpose of it? And again, I think there was some money and maybe some recording time or something like that. You know, that was what was available. The one we're doing in 2 weeks' time, to me here as I'm recording this, um, it's home turf, I guess, because we're in Plymouth. But I think the third band is a rock covers band. I may be wrong. I may be doing them a disservice, and I will look and yeah, I would check because you know me. I like to do this live, and I should have really looked that up before I came. But if they are, they'll win. I would almost guarantee it. They're both really good bands, you know, and Horse Divorce, you know, I've mentioned them several times recently. It's because I'm going to meet Sean. You know, I get into people, you know, like I was with Craig. I really love these people, and they're fun. You know, they're a fun sort of, I would call them a sort of post-punk, quite funny sort of, full of beans, full of energy type of band, which we're not. A bit more serious or a bit more sort of enjoy ourselves, but you know, I don't have that ability to be particularly zany or sort of running around or you know doing all this stuff. But they do, and they do it really well. So the minute I told John that they were on with us, John just said, "Oh well, there's no point going, is there? Because they're going to win." And I said, "No, no, you know, you never know, because it just depends on all these parameters of, you know, maybe the judges that are there are going to think we're amazing. Maybe we're going to just, you know, play a really great set as we do sometimes, and who knows, who knows." But you know, it's okay. I'm not holding out any great hopes, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So it really is what is being measured in these things. And do we want to do them? You know, I think I kind of say yes to so many things because I want the gigs. You know, sometimes I play yes to sort of going to places I know there's not going to be many people there. The guys have kind of stopped me from travelling too far down into Cornwall because it's a long way for John and Gray, and for Brad and I it's easier. But I get that, you know, to sort of go on the long way down and maybe not so many people there, but you can never really tell, you know. So we stick to a sort of area mainly around Plymouth, what I'd call East Cornwall, and then I guess maybe as far as Exeter and Torbay. We've done gigs in all of those. We played another gig in Torbay, a place called the Apple and Parrot. It was lovely, really good venue. Sound was great. People were really friendly. Quite a few people there. Playing there again, I think in the autumn. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But that's probably, I mean, it's a long journey for me from East Cornwall here. So it's kind of it's a fair old trek. But it's okay, you know. I think I said during the time I was being a singer songwriter, I entered a songwriting competition, and I didn't win, but I got mentioned in dispatches. So you know there was a first, second, and third, and there was also look out for. And but I didn't get told, and I remember just contacting the guy who ran it, and he sent me a very nice message back. I gave them a song called "Oil and Water," which was a song I played on my own, and I may actually use it for the music for this episode. Actually, it was a nice song. I thought it was a nice song. I didn't like the recording. I went and did some recording. It's the only track I can find that I did during that time. Because normally I was recording at home if I did anything, but I went to a studio just because I wanted a better quality recording just one time. But I let myself be double vocal. You know when you kind of you sing and then you sing again, and you know it's a kind of way of putting body into your voice, but I don't really like it. I never do it now. It's hard to do because you have to sing the song exactly the same, and I'm quite good at it. But you know, I don't see the point. It does sort of change how your vocal sounds, really. Um, and yeah, I wasn't so keen on it really. But you know, yeah, maybe I'll use it for the opening and closing credits. But he said, you know, and he said to me, Oil and Water. I remember it well. He said, you know, really liked your song. You know, and I thought, well, okay, that's good enough, isn't it? You know, you get a little bit of something, and yeah, it's good enough. Good enough. So who knows? Watch out for the winners of the Plymouth Battle of the Bands competition, and if you're in Plymouth, that would mean you'll be able to see us playing at the opening of the Barbican Christmas lights, or Barbican in Plymouth, and wouldn't that be exciting? You know, we'd have a captive audience, hopefully some thoughtful and decent sound support. But I'm not counting on it. There are 12 bands playing. They're all really good, and I just want to play well. And these days, yeah, I can be very philosophical about it's got nothing to do with what you're doing as much as is what you're doing, what people like on the moment, and the judges that you have there, really, I suppose. But what are you being judged on? I think the last one we did, they had the judges had sheets of different things, and they sent us a blank copy of it. Said we'd get the copies from the judges, which I don't think we ever did. But they had all these things, originality, stage presence, musicality, all these things were there, and it's good, But I think, well, yeah, but if I go back to that one in London, they were looking for a rock band. They really were, and we weren't a rock band. So we're not going to do very well, are we? It's okay. It's just the roulette wheel of life, and goes back to the very first episode I did, if you get lucky, maybe we get lucky when we play this one and the judges are all people that would just love a bit of indie funk, really into original music. They'll be really sniffy about anybody playing covers, and we shall power through to success. You never know. Who knows? Well, look, I'm going to go. I've been trying to record a song to use in one of these videos because I wanted to do an episode where I kind of really broke down the lyrics of one of my songs, and I thought, well, kind of need to play it really. Yeah, I've just done that, and I need to have a look at the video now because at some point, if this is now really picking up, I'd love it to be picking up. What about 17, 18 episodes now? I probably need to do this in a more professional way. I'm doing this on my phone. It kind of seems to be okay, but I know I could do better. I've probably got the sound system to do that, but not the videoing equipment to do that. But I need to look into what I would need to do to up the scale a bit, really, But yeah, we'll see. Right, do subscribe to the channel here. Check out the band. Hashtag Music the Curve. I always say these things, and yeah, see you again soon.
No, it doesn't matter what you thought that you were doing. I'm down here watching my life breaking in two. I'm bruised and I'm battered.